Hey, David Brewster here with a new episode of Scales and Tales, and this is Accessing Aeolian. And if you've been following this series of lessons surrounding the modes from the major scale, then you'll realize we've worked our way up to the sixth mode, which is known as Aeolian. It's also known as the natural minor scale or pure minor scale, and I've heard people refer to this just as the minor scale out there. And this is extremely common, a very familiar and common sound and tonality heard in music. Think of all the happy songs you've ever heard. Those cheerful and joyful, happy songs that exist, more than likely they were written using the Ionian mode or the major scale. And then if you flip that to the other side of the coin, think of all the sad songs you've heard, those moody and dark and kind of sad songs. More than likely they were written, using Aeolian or the natural minor scale. So this is a really common area in music, happy and sad, major and minor. And, for whatever reason, like when I think of Aeolian, like in my mind, this image I'm getting ready to share is basically my brain when I think of Aeolian. And a lot of this stems from when I was a teenager and just starting to play. And I directly associate Aeolian with Randy Rhoads and Michael Schenker and Iron Maiden, the Scorpions, and groups like that, Gary Moore for sure. But check out this image just to give you some insight into the sound of Aeolian. So to help you dive even deeper into this very important tonality and sound heard in music, here's another image with 20 songs that'll really help you kind of get used to the sound and really wrap the sound of the scale around your ear. And some of these songs might actually be completely written in Aeolian. Other songs that might just appear during a section. Sometimes it's really common to move between the relative major and minor, chords or tonalities. Sometimes, Aeolian might actually dip into Dorian, one of the modes we've already looked at, and kind of drift back and forth. A lot of Pink Floyd does that for sure, where it's like Aeolian 1 minute and then suddenly Dorian. But here's an image to kind of help you get even more acquainted with this very important sound. So this entire episode is going to revolve around D Aeolian, or D natural minor, and most people know that D minor is the saddest of all keys. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you haven't seen Spinal Tap. And if you haven't seen Spinal Tap, you have to. It's mandatory. It's a rite of passage as a musician. I don't care who you are, or how old you are, or where you're from, or what style you play. You have to see Spinal Tap. And once you see it, then you'll understand the joke I'm attempting to make here. But this episode's in D Aeolian. So much like we've done in other episodes in the series, we need to find the parent scale for D Aeolian, since that's the mode we're going to be hitting in this episode. So basically, like we've done in other episodes, for other modes, we're going to declare we need to find D Aeolian. All right, so basically locate the root note you need on the A string, which you can find D right there on the 5th fret, and then you're going to basically move 3 frets higher, or a minor third higher than that D. So just count up 3 frets, and right there's an F. And that's your parent scale. So D Aeolian comes directly from F major. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So here's D Aeolian right here, 2 octaves. And there's D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, and D. Now if I play that exact same scale but start on F and end on F, then magically it changes to F Ionian or F major. Right? That should sound really familiar. Right? F major. And then convert it to D Aeolian. Suddenly it sounds a lot darker, and sadder right there. So there's D Aeolian. We can basically find the parent scale by targeting that a minor third higher, grab that F, and then play F to F, and there's F Ionian, the parent scale. And there's one more scale shape I want to share right here that we're going to use in this lesson a little bit later. Here's D Aeolian right there. So let's take that and move it up an octave. Let's play it right here, and you get this really nice like bird's eye view of the scale right there. There's D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, and D right here. Right? And it's just a little pocket, like a 1 octave pocket of D Aeolian. But like I said, we're going to be using that later. So go ahead and learn that right now. Very simple, and it's just an octave higher than where we started right there. So I will break down what I played during the opening jam a little later in this episode, but up next are some Aeolian-flavored chords, and this is really going to help you kind of bring out the tonality and sound of this mode. And usually, like in textbooks or theory books, for D Aeolian, they would recommend D minor or D minor 7, but that's not really detailed or specific enough for me. I'm looking for one static chord that sounds like Aeolian. And we've done this in other episodes related to other modes, but now it's Aeolian's turn. And the chord we're looking for is a minor flat 6, and that flat 6 really hits, Aeolian big time. So let me show you what I mean. Let's just start with a basic, like open position, D minor chord right here. Very common, very basic right there. D minor, right? So let's take this A note, let's move that up a half step, grab that B flat right there on the 3rd fret on the G, and now magically it's a D minor flat 6. To the chord right there. Right? And there's something really interesting that happens here, and we're going to see this, as we start moving through some of these chords, so I'm explaining this for a reason. But there's D minor. If we take a D minor chord and put a B flat in the bass, then magically it becomes B flat major 7. That super jazzy, major 7th sound. And all we did was just change the root note. There's D minor, add that B flat, and it's B flat major 7 all of a sudden. So remember that, because we're going to see that 2 more times as we kind of move through these chords. Up next, we've got this little spacey guy. That's a D minor add 9 flat 6 implied right there. You kind of stretch down and grab that A if you want. But right there we've got the open D, B flat, F, and the high E open. So there's your little part of D minor, that D and F. The E, on the high E open, is your add 9. And then the flat 6 is right there, that B flat. So D minor, add 9, flat 6. We could also add this A up on top, and that just turns it into a D minor flat 6. Spacing flat 6 like this. And right there I'm basically barring the 3rd fret on the D, G, and B strings, grabbing A up on the high E string like that, and then just reach over and grab that D root note, and there's D minor flat 6 right there. Really interesting. Now remember when I said you could take a D minor chord, add a B flat in the bass, and it changes it to a B flat major 7? Well, the opposite of that is true. You can grab a B flat major 7 chord and then put a D in the bass, and magically it changes into a D minor flat 6. No way. Yes way. So one more time, there was B flat major 7 right here. We added that D root note and it's D minor flat 6. Let's do that again. There's a D minor flat 6 up here. Idea here, this would be a D minor flat 6 add 9 add 11. Really cool chord. And that chord definitely tells a story. I'm not sure what the story is, but that's really cool, real tasty. And all of these chords are bringing out that, Aeolian kind of flavor. And that one's really interesting. Flat 6, add 9, add 11. And let's do one more little major 7 twist. So here's a B flat major 7 right here, right? And all we have to do is just add a D, to replace the root note, and it magically becomes D minor flat 6 right there. Up next, we're going to compare Aeolian to the 2 other minor tonality modes from the major scale, Dorian and Phrygian. And from the modes of the major scale, you basically have 3 major tonality modes or scales, 3 minor family tonality scales, and also one that's half diminished. So with the major family, you have Ionian, Lydian, and Mixolydian. Minor, you have Dorian, Phrygian, and Aeolian. And then half diminished is the freaky Locrian, which is next up in these lessons in this series. But for this, we're going to basically use that little 1 octave pocket of Aeolian that I mentioned earlier, right here. And let's also use that D minor flat 6 we just uncovered right here. So there's D minor flat 6, and that's definitely signaling Aeolian big time because of that flat 6. This D minor flat 6 to just D minor 6. Let's take B flat, move it to B. There's, D minor 6 instead of the flat 6, like that. So there's D minor flat 6, bring it up, D minor 6. Now that's signaling Dorian right there, with that B natural right there. Phrygian. That's kind of a freaky scale, definitely a very noticeable exotic tonality. Let's play around with this chord. If you're not awake yet, that'll definitely wake you up in the morning right there. That's a D7 flat 9 with no 3rd. But that's Phrygian-flavored right there. That flat 9. These 3 minor family, modes, Aeolian, Dorian, and Phrygian, there's really only 1 note different. Between Aeolian and Dorian, it's the 6th. Here's Aeolian, right? And then Dorian had the natural 6, B natural. So between Aeolian and Dorian, it's the 6th, right? And then between Aeolian and Phrygian, it's that flat 2nd or flat 9. So now I'm going to break down what I played during the opening jam, and this is going to kind of pinpoint some chord progression ideas and some strategies you can kind of use to hit, Aeolian. And I was basically playing with this. Like that. So right there, that's basically D minor. I'm just barring the 5th fret, and you could think of that a couple different ways. You could think of that as like a C over D, like that, or you could relate it to D, and you could think of it as a D7 sus2 sus4, basically. It's up to you, C over D or a D7 sus2 sus4. And that's very, very common. Check out, Empty Rooms from Gary Moore. Move that down a half step and think Skid Row 18 and a Life, and 18 and a Life's basically in C sharp Aeolian. But we're kind of flirting, with that Aeolian kind of tonality, just with that simple 2-chord progression. Right, and then the twist as far as the chords. Single notes there is right here. Now it's B flat major 7, and you can kind of see almost all of that D minor chord remains. We're just changing the root note from here to there, and then we're doing a twist in there too. So right there I was doing B flat major 7, back and grabbing that E note. So that's a B flat major 7 sharp 11 now. Interesting. So that's actually revealing something else that's happening behind the scenes here. So D minor to that C over D, or D7 sus2 sus4. B flat major 7 to a B flat major 7 sharp 11. So the interesting thing here with this opening jam is if you play D Aeolian over the D section, it's D Aeolian, big time. Now if you play technically D Aeolian over that B flat major 7 chord, it changes and it actually becomes a mode we've already talked about in another episode. So D Aeolian over that B flat major 7 magically becomes B flat Lydian. Right? And you can definitely hear that tonality big time. Jam. I was just kind of playing, D Aeolian and targeting D. When the chord changed to B flat, B flat major 7, then I started targeting B flats, and I was using the same scale, but producing 2 different modal flavors. Last but not least is the song recommendation, and this is going to serve up this giant Aeolian playground for you to play with. And I've done this in other episodes related to other modes, but now it's Aeolian. And the song I've recommended here is Dogs from Pink Floyd, and this came from their classic 1977 album Animals. I absolutely love Animals. I love Pink Floyd. David Gilmour's a huge musical influence on me, big time. And Dogs is epic. It's a 17-minute long song. and it actually shifts between Aeolian and Dorian. So the reason why I chose the song is it's giving you a chance to kind of play with two modes instead of just one. And they're so closely related. There's only one note different between Dorian and Aeolian, just as a reminder. But this is really interesting. So basically, nobody's playing what I'm getting ready to demonstrate right here. This is just kind of the overall tonality of what you're hearing. Because keep in mind, this is a detuned acoustic, keyboard, bass, Gilmour's fills and stuff on guitar, Waters' vocal melody, Gilmour's vocal melody, and it's creating this kind of implied tonality. So it's something around like a D minor 9, right, as far as that opening kind of tonality that you hear in the song. And then you're hearing it change to an E flat major 7 sus2. So this Pink Floyd, chord twist, big time. They're masters of that. D minor 9 to E flat major 7 sus2. And then an A sus2 sus4. That's going to twist to an A flat sus2 sharp 11. Really interesting. So one more time, D minor 9, E flat major 7 sus2, an A sus2 sus4 right there, and then an A flat, what was it? A flat sus2 sharp 11. Interesting thing that's happening here, this is one of the reasons why I love Pink Floyd so much, is there's one shared note between all those chords, and it's D. No way. But obviously over the D minor 9, there's a D in there. Now E flat major 7 sus2. Alright, E flat major 7 sus2. D is the major 7 right there. Sus2 sus4, the sus4 right here is D, so there's a D in that chord. And then that weirdo A flat sus2 sharp 11, the sharp 11 is now, that D note. So it's really cool the way they stack those chords. They kind of have these mutually shared, the mutually shared note, which is that D. But you hear that. Whether you realize you hear it or not, your ear is hearing that common tone between those chords. So the interesting thing here is you can play Dorian, over certain chords. It's that progression that's twisting right there. You could definitely use Dorian over that first chord, or I'm sorry, Aeolian over that first chord. Over these E flat major 7 sus2, you can still use Aeolian. It's the A sus4, A sus2 sus4 that kind of messes things up, because the sus2 right there is B. So that's screaming Dorian all of a sudden. But then when it flips to the A flat, A flat sus2 sharp 11, then there's a B flat again, so now it's back to Aeolian. So what's happening, there's that one chord that's kind of throwing in that Dorian curveball, and that's why you're hearing, Aeolian, and then Dorian, and then Aeolian again. So Pink Floyd were masters at playing with your ear, finding that one chord to just throw everything out of whack. But your ear's hearing that mutual note between the chord progression, it's hearing that mutual note between the scales, because it's all in the key of D. It's just shifting between, Aeolian and Dorian. So check out Dogs. That's totally an Aeolian-Dorian playground, and it's really going to help you kind of see the difference between those two really important scales. Alright, that's going to wrap this episode of Scales and Tales with accessing Aeolian. Definitely a very important, very common, very popular, sound and tonality heard in music. And like I mentioned at the beginning, way back at the start of this video, think of all those happy songs you've heard, and they came from the major scale, and then all those sad songs more than likely came from Aeolian. There's just little different, twists and variations, in that tonality. Because it's all minor, from the minor family. Dorian and Phrygian and Aeolian are very closely related, just like Ionian, Lydian, and mixed Lydian are very closely related. It's just kind of noticing those little differences and those little kind of changes in tonality are really important, whether you're doing it physically on the fretboard or you're just doing it with your ear, listening to music. It's really important to pick that out. And then slowly but surely, just like, being able to tell between happy and sad, major and minor, your ear will start to pick out like, hey, that's Dorian, or hey, that's Phrygian, or hey, that's Aeolian. So anyway, leave some feedback and comments. Please subscribe to my lessons, and I'll be back before you know with more content and material. Thank you.